Okay, we're looking at Jamie's Taurus bass pedals. This is the underside of the pedal system. This was a complete strip down was needed on this. The pedals were flapping from side to side like windscreen wipers. They were so worn in places. So I stripped them down completely, took all the screws, bolts, accessories, padding, washers, dampers, etc, etc. And I've put in silicone bushes which are sitting underneath these dampers here on each pedal, and they've stopped the pedals from moving around, rocking from side to side, nice and solid. There's a new resting damper along the rear panel just underneath here, where the pedal, when it comes to sit into its natural resting position from closed, gets dampened just here, and the strip runs all the way along. Then there's the switch assembly. The switch assembly is mounted on two rods. This is the lower rod, which loads in from a hole in this section just here, and that holds the lower Microsoft switch position. And there's a rod that runs in along the top, which you can see the spacers are loaded on, so the switches sit between the spacers, and they're mounted from the top. They're industrial standard micro switches, so they're much better. 13 of them for the Taurus and 13 of them for the MIDI interface. We're going to turn the unit over and take a look at the other side. Okay, so now we're top side. Although I forgot to mention that I replaced the front feet, rubber feet on here, to give it, raise it up higher, to give the pedals their travel distance. The pedals are mounted here. Here the pedals working. Nice and positive, very solid and firm, and great. Let's have a look. So the micro switches are mounted here. They're mounted on the top runner and the bottom runner. You can see them now more clearly. They run all the way along. This is a wired loom. There's two wired looms wrapped together. One for the Taurus pedals and one for the MIDI interface controller. The MIDI interface controller sits here. All the 13 notes are pinned there. The 13 notes for the Taurus pedal are pinned here. And that's it. There's more substantial bolt fixings as well. And let me see if there's anything else that's covered in there. The pedal overlay card. Yes, the pedal overlay card. One pedal overlay card, reinforced and repaired. Goes underneath here and slides to place like so. The most important thing on here is the earth strap, which was missing. Put an earth strap on. But if you haven't got an earth strap on here, and these pedals, this part of the chassis goes high in earth potential, then you start getting crying cats between your notes. Yes, lovely. Anyway, that's all that's needed to be done there. Okay, the main housing. This is the old power supply out of the system. This comes out, these are very unstable and they cause lots of problems. So it's gone. Put that over to one side. So we strip that out and we replace it with a new switch mode power supply just here. Just sitting down here, tiny, much lighter. It's providing 15 and plus and minus rail, 5 volt rail to the end, and replaces the high performance switch mode type as mentioned. Supply and fit 12 volt, 8 volt switch mode power supply. There's another power supply just here. This is providing 12 volts to an LED lit strip along the front, and 9 volts to the MIDI controller card which you saw on the pedal unit. There's an LED on off switch to the rear panel. You can lift it up and have a look. Rear panel looks different now. Let's get it up. Okay, here we go. These are the LED strip lights. On off. Power. This is a 240 volt surge and ripple power socket, so it's got surge and ripple protection in it, and it's wired to the power supplies. This is the main on off switch for the Taurus bass pedals as it was. This is the main output for the Taurus pedals as it was. This is the MIDI interface. Put rubber dust inhibitors on the sliders to replace the old foam ones which were all rotten and gone bad. So you've got new foam protectors on them. Stop dust and contamination getting in. Relocate the rear volume control to the front fascia, just there. And replace non-screen cabling with screen cabling. This is all normally just mains cable, so we put screen cabling down to the connector, just there. MIDI out connector we've already discussed. MIDI program select switch, just there. MIDI program octave switch, just there. Perpetual sustain select switch, just there. And then this connector that goes to the main board. This connector goes to the pedal unit. This is for the MIDI. And that's it in here. I think we're done. That's the earth connection point for the earth strap to the pedal unit. Yeah, have a look at the front of it. Take a look at the front. Oh, take a look at the back as well, because you've got a new Moog sticker. That's a brand new Moog sticker. It's there. Let me get to the front. Slide this in position. There's the inhibitor, the perpetual sustain. That's the octave select MIDI. That's the octave program select. That's the volume control moved to the front of the unit, so you can use your foot. It's rubber, so you can use your foot to move it up and down. These are the LED positions that have been replaced. We'll talk about those later. And that's it for this unit. So we'll move on to the main board. Right, the main board, what's happened here? First, it's had 4 isopropyl decontamination washes. They're at intervals during the process. Wash downs, complete alcohol wash cleans. So we take the audio ground to come here. Put that in. That earths the audio ground to the common earth from the power source, and it's normally running through the plug connectors, and it goes high circuit. This is on the board. Done. scrutinised board for poor joints and resolve, so little bits of soldering where the joints are drying out slightly. That's all been done. For insulation washers, you probably can't see them, but there's insulating washers underneath these posts that mount to the front programmed preset panel. And they're mounted on metal posts, and the metal posts are insulated from the circuit board with the little insulation washers that have been fitted. Replace the tune and beat knobs so that they match. Cut back foot switching plate lugs to resolve leaking issues. If you look at the position here of the plate, that plate normally comes out square and travels down, and it's closer to the printed circuit board track, and this is the same for all of them. They've all been cut back to keep them clear of the printed circuit board track. New foot switching LEDs. Ding, 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 ding. Colour selection at the end. I'm not sure how that works. It's a bit Christmas tree, but it is what it is. You can always change them. They've been changed a few times, and the printed circuit board is in poor condition underneath there, so best left as they are for now. And that's it for this side of the board. There wasn't any other thing to do. Lots of cleaning. This all came off. There's nothing else to do here. Right, we'll go to the front of the board. Doing this without touching tracking on the circuit board. Keep it clean. There are places you can put your fingers, but keep off the circuit board track, PCB track. Up on the back side of the board. Right, new micro switch wiring. This is the new micro switch wiring, so we've hardwired the wires in, and they run down to this connector. And this connector connects to the pedal unit board. This is for the perpetual sustain. Connector just there goes into the front fascia switcher. That's sorted out. Now this is these are important. These switches are normally wired, the commons are wired independently to them, but they're all the same common. So what we do is we take the common, pick it up once, and just run it across all the switches in one go. There's only one point of failure instead of multiple points of failure. And then we run the other cables across, and they're all soldered instead of spade connected, so that we resolve any issues with connectivity on those as well. There are known issues with them, so it's best just to hot wire them. By this time we've done the third alcohol wash on the motherboard. Then you replace these two chips by bilateral switches to improve stability, and an op amp, dual op amp as well. Those are known problems that have been replaced. Then followed the lengthy cat and mouse elimination process to identify the villainous component, and the villainous component was this dual N-channel J field effects transistor, and this is the replacement one in there now. Everything's working well. Then another last and final alcohol clean, and then a full calibration, full testing, all okay. So we're going to put the unit together now and demonstrate it. Yippee! See you in a minute. Okay, so the unit's put back together, everything's in position. This is fixed now. So the screws fixing it and stop it falling off. They always get lost by the pedals when you haven't got the cover. And then the displays are all working, glide's working, decay's working, octave's working. So if we go for a note, glide's on. My mistake. Taurus. Variable. Working good. We introduce the MIDI controller into the configuration. See what I said about preempting notes? All done. Showtime. Okay, so I'll talk to you soon.